Hi, once again we have Kathy Morton from RVMS. Hi, Kathy. Nice to speak
Hi,
to you
Kevin.
again.
You too.
Hi there. So last time we spoke, we was talking about revenue management and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously we have Wineridge open here. Would you like to tell us how you manage revenue and optimize and to try and get the most out of reservations from the resorts at Wineridge?
So at our the resorts that we have on the West Coast, which are a snowbird pattern, which basically means we're busy, really busy in the winter months, and have arrivals. If you actually click back to February, you'll see where it's a little more full than it is right now. But we have not February, maybe March for them actually. They have folks who come in, every day here at Indian Waters as well, and at Casa Grande, where the turnover is an everyday turnover rather than people coming in just every weekend being full, or it's full all the time every day. And so what we learned was that it made the most sense for us to utilize the system and utilize the grid optimization to get the most out of every site we have. And actually, if you want to jump over to 98307 in February of 2007, you'll see more where it's
98307?
98307. Because the goal, obviously, for all of us is to have as few blank spaces as possible. And now click on February. Yeah, I have my weekend pattern right now.
Oh, so that is optimized.
Yeah, so you can see here that the fewer, in February especially, the fewer yellow spaces as possible is what we all go for. And that we find that the way to get that is to really let the grid, the availability grid, do all the work for us. So
what is auto optimization? If you can just explain what that is. Obviously, I know what it is.
So basically, when a reservation comes in, the grid will put that reservation into the spot where it creates the best possible, back-to-back occupancy. So, and as more reservations continue to be made, the grid will move those reservations around where to continue to create the best possible, highest occupancy you can get.
Wow.
And that is, that's huge for us, because here in the Southwest, our season is so short that we need to make the most of it while we can. Now, we don't assign sites, and I know for a lot of people that can freak them out. I have a couple of resorts who I'm still working on. Trust the grid. It knows what it's doing. They want to, a reservation comes in and they want to assign the site right away, and how I explain it to people, or even my staff, I say, here's how we work it. It's the same adage of your calendar, right? Here's a glass jar, right? The one that's used by Stephen Covey, I think it was. You have a big glass jar, and if you're going to fill that big glass jar, the first thing you want to put in are the big things, right? So put in the big rocks. And by big rocks, what I mean for the availability grid is long-term reservations. So if I have someone who's staying 30 days or longer, they get to choose their site location. So they're a big rock, right? I'm going to lock them into where they're going to be. Then I have a bunch of little rocks, right? Those little rocks are, the people who are here for a day, a week, 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, anything, where it's not long term. And those people I leave unassigned, floating around on the grid until the night before they get here. Because the grid manages where to put them to best optimize my occupancy based on all the big rocks that I have in there, right?
Then they still have the same type?
Yes, they still have the same type. They just move around within the type. I mean, for example, in this particular thing, and that's what I tell people. I will guarantee you when you make a reservation for an A grass that you get an A grass, right? Or a B grass. I don't know which one. You can certainly give me a request. I'll put a request in your reservation, and I'll do the best I can at the time you get here to fulfill that request. But I can't guarantee a particular site unless you're here for 30 days or longer.
But how did that go down when you first introduced it? Did it go down well?
There are some people who, say, oh, I really, really want that site location. And I say, well, that's how it works for us in the wintertime. I'll get you an A grass or better, because sometimes for inventory purposes, I do have to upgrade people. And I will upgrade people at no cost to a better site, but it will be at least to the one they booked or better.
Yeah.
And there are some people who don't particularly like it, and they end up in the part of the resort they don't really like to be in, and it's what I have. So it's and I think as long as they know ahead of time that it's not a guarantee, I'm not going to guarantee that you're going to get site 5. I'll put in your reservation that you request that. Go ahead.
Now, what did this do to your revenue, though, once you started to implement this? Because this is very much like the hotel model, and obviously they know how to really wring out the revenue with different functions that a hotel system has typically. What did this do for your revenue?
Well, for us, we had, at my resort, I always used this model. So I don't really know, I don't have a time that I wasn't and then I was, so I didn't see the difference. When I really got to see the difference was at our other resort, Wine Ridge. They weren't allowing the system to optimize, and they were having to turn down reservations. And they'd look on the grid, and if you look on the grid, the one that's displayed right now, on February 17th, if you look at site 10, that's a B Deluxe patio grass, right? And it's available the 15th to the 17th. And then if you look 2 down on the 18th, there's also a B Deluxe grass available on the 18th. Well, all these people are already locked in, but if I didn't have those locked in, the availability would tell me that I have a B Deluxe grass available the 15th to the 18th, checking out on the 19th, right?
Yeah.
And so it would move it around. It would move every reservation I have to get that new reservation in where it belongs. And so, I introduced this concept to our resort outside of Las Vegas, and then they moved to that model where they don't assign the site location until the night before. And it was specifically with their cottage occupancy, and they went from being able to, at the same busy time, they could only book up to about 80% when they were assigning ahead of time and guaranteeing people a particular site.
Yeah.
Once they moved to letting the grid do its optimization, they easily are now between 97 and 99 during their high season all the time.
That's like a 17% swing.
Yeah, because humans can't figure it out. It's a very complex puzzle. And for a human to try to figure it out, which of course back in the old RV days, that's what they had to do because they didn't have a choice. But we have a choice. Let the technology do the work for you. Trust the technology. Now, there are times And I have had this situation, and it's sometimes hard for people to get their head around, but what we get is a booking conflict. For example, that example I showed you where we have the 15th to the 19th available, but for this particular example, it's not available in the same site location.
Yeah.
The system will still let you book that,
Yeah.
even though it's not the same site.
Yeah.
Right? Which then you get a conflict, because then it's like, well, I don't have anywhere to put these people where they can be in the same site the whole time. And at first, that was a little scary for some of our staff, because then, they felt like, oh my gosh, now what are we going to do? But what I found over time is that most of the conflicts resolve themselves, because someone cancels, someone changes to a different site, they come in and they want to pull through instead of the one they're on, and you're able to move them. So I've found that 90% of my conflicts resolve themselves.
Yeah, and I can tell you what we found as well is that everybody knows the sort of times of the year this may happen, because it's going to be around a very busy time when you're 100% booked.
Mm-hmm.
And so they'll just manage that one time, or probably 2 or 3 times a year. They'll look across those 4 or 5 days, and they'll just block one site.
Right.
So they've always got one site free. So they put a pencil
and that's
in
exactly what I do.
Yeah, and then it just deals with itself.
Yeah.
And like
and
I
do
year.
During those busy times, like February, I hold out. I think I start with about 7 or 8 held out, like 1 or 2 of each type, because I have so many different types. And and what it allowed me this year, this season was the first time I did that. Prior to that, I was kind of doing it on the fly, but this year I did it, like before the season even started booking. I'm going to hold these all back. Yeah. And so now what I found this year is A, that I'm able to resolve any conflict that comes up fairly easily, and B, I'm able to fit those people in who come during busy season. They've never been to the resort before. They come and they stay, they have a reservation for like 2 days. And then they come and they say, wow, this place is really neat. Can we extend for a week?
Yes.
Now, prior to holding back that inventory in the inventory allocation tool, I was never able to accommodate those people.
Yeah.
Because I had someone else who was reserved for that site location. But this year, I was able to accommodate those people. And it was really great, because those are the kind of people that you want to cultivate. You want to make the people happy who are here for the first time and have found that they really like it and they want to stay. You want to be able to say, sure, I'm able to accommodate you. Now, sometimes they had to move to a different site type because I didn't have their particular site type open. But most of the time they were happy to do that because they really liked it and they wanted to stay. So holding back that inventory, like if you look just in a grass at February 2018, you'll have to change the calendar tool to look far ahead. You have to go way ahead. So go up to the calendar. You're going to have to go to 2018. You're going to have to hit next.
2018?
2018, yeah. I already have next season's held back because...
Oh, no, I don't blame you, because this is the way to do it.
Because I know what happens.
Online as well.
I know what happens in February. It's
February.
Yeah, February. I know what happens. That's and I want to cultivate those new customers that are here for the first time. See, I got 2 all the way across the board. And there are days that there's only 1 site left.
Yeah.
Right.
But for anybody that's watching, we created this little interface to make it easy for you to manage your inventory. So you can put a block on, basically, of 2. Then you don't have to do anything else. You just manages it. And then you always have that little bit.
And then as I want to release it, as it gets closer, I release it.
Yeah.
And then I manage it, 1 day at a time. The other thing I use this tool for is special events, because if you click on October 2017, we have a special event here that comes in October, and we're not sure, they haven't Yeah, see where I held back everything
Yeah.
because we're not clear about when I know it's going to be on those dates. However, they haven't released it and said they're going to do it or not yet, right?
Yeah.
So I don't want to, because last year this is what happened to me during this event, is I had everything out there on the internet to book at my whatever my rates were for that time of the month, which were like $25 a night. And
Yeah.
then they announced this special event. Well, I had like a massive amount of people just go online and make reservations at $25 a night, when for that special event weekend we really charged $135.
Wow.
Right. So
But
then I
because
had to
they
go
hadn't
back.
told you.
I had to go back
Yeah.
to those $25 people and say, you know what, you made a reservation prior to that event being announced. And so unfortunately, you know, that's not our price. This is what our price is. And that was a little challenging.
Of course.
Because then they were like, well, you had it out there and I was able to book it and you need to, you know, honor that contract and honor that experience. And I said, well, sorry, that's not the way. That's not how it
Yeah.
goes. And so this year, rather than wait for them, because they still haven't made the announcement for this October event, I just said, forget it. I'm just going to block it all. I'm going to look sold out and I'm going to wait till they announce. And that way I can put it out at the rates I want to put it out. And
Yeah.
you know, then get the bookings.
Yeah. If I went
So,
to next year, was it February? February 20,
when the special event
2018.
is, or just regular?
Yeah. Special event.
October 2017.
So
The first weekend, like October 6th. Yeah, and so it'll look sold out.
Yeah.
And people have called and said, are you really sold out? Because they're, you know, thinking it's going to happen as well, this special event. And and I said, well, no, at this point we're just, you know, holding back our inventory until the event is announced. Once the event is announced, then it will be available for you to make a reservation online.
And all you got to do is go in here and put on 0. You would have set your rates up because
That's right.
it's a special event and people will pay. And then, that makes a lot of sense.
And then I'm on the internet, I'm ready to go. So there's a lot of different ways. Of course, the other thing that makes holding back inventory during busy time really important is when you have an issue, like if the water, you know, breaks in a site, or the electric doesn't work, or whatever. If you don't have any inventory held back and you're full, you got nowhere to put these people.
Yeah. Well, I remember in the hotel industry, you only manage your really busy times. The rest you just let float.
Exactly.
Care. But it's the busy time, like Christmas and Easter and those, and it's only a week. You just look at that week and you just manage it. The rest, let it float.
And of course, the other way to manage your inventory to maximize revenue is if you do have special events or you do have a particular pattern of reservation. Like if you are, because we have 2 resorts that get very busy in the north-south commute between the eastern states and Florida, right?
Yeah.
Because they're right off the I-95 corridor. They get very busy during that time. So for them, you know, creating opportunity is to set minimum and maximum stays. You know, that also maximizes revenue.
Which resorts are those?
Fayetteville and Raleigh and AmeriCamps. AmeriCamps especially. Because they literally, if you stand in their front office, you can see the highway.
Wow.
I mean, it's like right there.
Yeah.
So you can see they're heavily patterned for the one night.
Yeah.
The 1-2 night. That's their deal. And right now, it's the big northern commute, and they're really busy in March and April from that.
Yeah.
These people going up and down.
How do you manage this? You manage this with minimum night stays?
They don't do any minimum. The only times they have min and maximum is they're right near Richmond, and Richmond has a big NASCAR race 2 times a year in April. and you'll see it there in April the 27th, in April and in September. And during those weeks, they have min-max stays. During my special events, I have minimum and maximum stays. At the resorts back east, Twin Grove and North Landing, every weekend has a minimum and maximum stay. So every weekend you have to stay 2 nights. Every holiday you have to stay 3. So
if I try to book, let me have a look. Oh, I can see it's sold out for that weekend anyway.
Yeah, I think that's NASCAR weekend.
That's NASCAR.
No, that one's NASCAR weekend. 28 to 30 is NASCAR.
And then you don't have.
But here at AmeriCamps, you could book a 1 night anytime.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, except for those NASCAR weekends, they keep a one night. But if you go to 700,000.
Oh, this is North London, yeah. Yeah, this is what we did map. Which dates do you have?
So, any weekend after Memorial Day. So,
if we went to, I don't know, November?
No. Go to June.
The 10th. So if I put in 1 night and try to make a reservation.
Yeah, you have to pick a weekend. Is the 10th a weekend?
Oh.
Yeah, and you have to pick a unit.
Is the 10th a weekend? I think it is.
I don't know if the 10th is a weekend or not. Let's see.
Find out.
10th
is a Saturday.
Yeah, the 10th is a Saturday.
Yeah, that's what.
So if you pick an available unit, pick one of the green ones. There's not many in that section, but and put 2 adults. It'll tell you.
Yeah. Want to let you book online?
Yeah, do it.
Minimum stay requirement is 2 days. Yeah.
So
right, that saves a lot of talking over the phone on the front desk.
Yes, it does. And, because we do, especially at this resort in Virginia Beach, because it's only really now coming into its 2nd season, the previous clientele prior to us purchasing it, and this is always a little challenging in a transition when you buy a new place or, you're trying to change your business model a little bit. They were very last-minute bookers. Like, literally, they'd call, "We're on our way. Do you have a site open?"
Wow.
And, of course, they always would, back with the old ownership. And, do you have a site open? And Memorial Day's pretty booked up there, see? So do you have a site open? And I only want to stay tonight.
Yeah.
Well, the first season after we bought it, when we were doing construction, we let that happen. But now that's not going to happen. And at this point, I want to say, about 85 to 90% booked for Memorial Day. And,
wow.
And it's still not quite middle of April.
Wow.
So by the end of April, it will probably be sold out for Memorial Day.
Memorial Day is this weekend here?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And, they're going to call at the last minute and we're going to say, "Sorry, we're full."
Wow.
Which is exactly what you want to be saying, right? I mean, that's our whole goal in the business, is to say, "Sorry, we're full. I'm not able to accommodate you. Can I check another date for you? Can I put you on a wait list?" And that's also a technology that I believe is within the system.
Yes, it is. We've got 4 wait lists, so if somebody cancels, a list will pop up of people that wanted those same dates or within those dates.
Exactly.
Also have the promo code features, and you mentioned something else earlier. Oh, the events. Are you using the event feature yet?
The event feature?
Yeah, we got full events. Been out for about 3 months. It's neat. It's really neat.
I
I'll
don't
get
think
lazy to
so.
set it up for you. No, you're not. I can see, because it would highlight the event at the top of the screen, and then when somebody books across, a pop-up will come so that the front desk person knows there's an event on, and they can say to the person on the phone, "Oh, we have an event on this month. Would you like to buy a ticket? Would you like to?"
Oh, like an activity.
Yeah, and then it does the same online. When they book online, it says, "Oh, this special event is going on. Please call the resort for more information." Or you can actually put a product online called, concert ticket for 29th of May, and they can book that as they're making a reservation.
That's really awesome. That's a new feature that we might think about utilizing.
Yeah, I think you're going to have to get that one pretty fast. We got about 5 new modules in, and we just tested them out, but those ones are fully tested and in the system, but the other ones are going to be pretty unique as well.
Awesome.
So that was how you manage basically inventory and optimize the most. Now, when it comes to the resorts that allow people to book down to the individual site, what you
like
do
this one that you're like North Landing that you're looking at right now, because you can see by all the reservations are gray, and or they look like a group, so they're assigned to their specific site location. Now we've only chosen to use this because you'll see it pretty clear as day at the locations where there's a very specific pattern. If you switch to business number, you'll see it a little stronger because they're a little fuller more frequently. Switch to business number 3. Where is it?
I was getting the name.
301469. It's Twin Grove. That's the second location where we use the map interface to allow them to choose their site location. And you can, it's so strong. You can really see it here. They're full on weekends. Like that's their pattern. Weekend after weekend after weekend. People get there Friday, check out Sunday. Get there Friday, check out Sunday. And there's some people that come a day before, a day after, whatever. But it's really, really, really clear. And so in those instances, because this business model lends itself to that, it works really well. Not every business model will lend itself to this.
Yeah, true. So
you really just have to look at your individual pattern to see how do people use my facility. I'm in the mountains, and so I'm a getaway place, right? They just come every weekend. Or I'm on the side of the freeway, so I get a bunch of one-nighters all the time. And each individual person that runs the resort knows what their pattern is and what it looks like.
Well, I'm glad that we got features that can suit both models, and to have a resort network that has both models and a little bit in between as well, and you can maximize revenue. That's the key.
Exactly. Maximize revenue and customer satisfaction, right?
Yeah.
Like
now,
that's the deal.
To customer satisfaction, give us a little overview on some of your nice
Well,
tips
because
on
for example, the people who use this map interface want their site, right? Because you'll see as you look at some of the reservations, 2 that are grouped together have the same name on them, right? So they're coming as groups. So they want to know that they get this one and this one together. And, they'll potentially even move their dates so that they can come at the right time, so that they can be together. And the ability for them, the customer, to be able to search that online and look at it online and actually make that choice is huge. Because you're pretty much giving them control. And that's what they want. Now, on the ones where we use the optimization, obviously we are guaranteeing them the site type. We don't guarantee them the exact site unless they're here long term, which, you do or don't have to do. We choose to do that. But, and so there's still that level of comfort on our part that they're going to get what they booked, essentially.
Yes.
And that they can do all that online, and not have to make a phone call and not have to, engage us. I mean, we want to engage them, but it
One of
makes
the
it a
things,
lot easier for them.
one of the things that we do have, I don't think that you utilize it, but I just want to mention it. You know where we went to the inventory allocation?
Uh-huh.
One of the unique things about the system, and this is something you may think about later on, well, third-party travel agents and wholesalers.
Right.
It's more for the cabins because in camping, it's very difficult for these channels to understand length sensitivity and the various rates that you have within 1 week and things of that nature. They're used to the hotel. It's one rate for a season. You may have a couple of specials, but it's nothing like trying to book a campground. However, if you have a lot of cabins or rental units, those may be a way out for you to rent it to a third-party channel to maximize revenue. And you can do it
And that is kind of our that's our next evolution. Because the system allows us to do that, our next evolution is using things like Expedia or Booking.com or something of that nature, where we can have that third party out there continuing to market for us and introducing new customers to our facilities.
Well, one of the things that we do have is if you was working with a particular wholesaler, so you know that this particular wholesaler can get you a lot of bookings. You could actually give that wholesaler a separate inventory segment and it would show up underneath here. And you can say, out of my default inventory, these guys can have 20% or 10 units at any particular time of the year. And when you're busy, you can say, well, I don't get any then because I know I'm going to sell it myself.
Right.
And once you've done that, the actual travel agent or wholesaler can log in online. You just log in here. They can log in online as a travel agent or wholesaler at their rates, just seeing their inventory and book while you're asleep.
Yeah, which at Indian Waters here in Palm Springs, I haven't quite gotten there yet. However, I do have 2 wholesalers that work out of Los Angeles, and they work with the Asian market.
Yeah.
And they basically book them entire tours of, go see this, that, and the other thing. And obviously, we do have quite a few folks that I get from them, and I'll see their information online, and the phone number is always the same. And so I did call them finally and say, hey, I noticed that you're doing this, and, can we work something out? And, for you guys to use our facility all the time. So it really does, help to pay attention to what's coming in. Because in the summertime, when normally we really don't have very much business, what the business we do have are European travelers and Asian travelers, who are doing their motorhome trips around the Western United States. So
yeah, makes sense.
So might as well be part of that experience. So it's really great that we have the opportunity to, when we are able to contact someone like that who can offer, who offers that type of package availability, that we can say, hey, I actually have a way you can log right in, make your own reservation. We can, based on how much volume you're doing, we can create some kind of agreement that your rate will be X.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's always the best. Just thinking, is there anything else regarding revenue management or trying to squeeze the last bit out of rates or trying to do incentives that you have up your sleeve?
Incentives. I don't know that.
I don't think you utilize the promo code feature we have in the system.
No.
I'll get Leslie to run through that with you as well. Yeah, I think that can drive.
But we could.
Myself, yeah.
Because most of us put coupons on Yelp and stuff like that.
Exactly, and that's just a promo code. Once they go online, use the promo code when they're booking, then they will have a cheaper rate or whatever you've decided to give them, and then you can track that through to marketing, and you know what works. Once you know what works, then you do more of the same. It's really instant tracking of marketing. You see your return on investment immediately.
Yeah, and right now we do track and make required for them to put in with every reservation where how did you hear about it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's really important. Really important. But the promo codes give you that little bit extra, because even if it's a 5% off, you know.
Right. It's more granularity.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's really good, especially when you're talking about print marketing.
Yeah, to be real specific to a campaign that you do, whether online or not. And what's really helpful as well, with that promo code functionality, at that point, you connect it to an e-blast that you send out to guests who have been there before.
Yeah.
I know we've done that in the past, where at Twin Grove especially, if we'll see, especially with the cottages, in the April and May timeframe, like if you click on the lodging tab, she will offer an incentive to say, hey, on the weekend of April, like she's more booked for the weekend of the 13th to the 16th, and then the last weekend in April, but the middle one, the 21st, the 21st to the 23rd, is a little light. So she may send out an e-blast saying, hey, if you want to come that weekend, you get, buy one night, get one half off, or whatever it is that she offers. And the last time she did that, she had sent it out. She sent the email out on a Monday, the e-blast, to previous guests who'd been there before. And by Thursday, she had gotten like 22 reservations off it.
Wow.
For that next weekend, which is pretty great.
Yeah, and you also know that we have set up interface now for auto emails. So as soon as somebody made a reservation, you can send a pre-email, so 2 days before they're due to check in, they can get an email. And you can send a post-email 2 days after the check date, and you can slip a code inside of one of those anytime. So you could have a promo code for extra products or services.
Right, if you book again or...
Yes, exactly. If you book again, or if you send it out in the pre-email, you can say, well, if you book that round of golf through us and things like that, or if you buy some roses for your wife, you can get
$5 off your kayak rental when you...
Exactly. So,
when you bring your
all
promo
those can
code.
be utilized. Yeah.
Yeah, those are things that for us, now we're in the phase where we really need to start... I want to start honing and, getting more granular and really just using all the functionality available to us.
Yeah,
because there's so much.
Yeah, there is a lot. Now, when it comes to, and I know we're a bit overdue on time again, but it's always a pleasure, so we'll just ask one more question. When it comes to staff training on the system, where do you normally start? Do you just normally start them off simple, and then
where do I start?
Yeah.
Well, obviously with the basic functionality, how to navigate this basic screen and the panels and what they all mean. And then we'll move to how to make a reservation.
Yeah.
How to check someone in. Those are pretty much the, like at a bare minimum, if you're going to do anything, you have to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And we've given some people, we'll say, okay, go ahead and log in and, watch the videos and see if those are helpful to you. And it really, for me, it just depends on how the person learns.
Yeah.
Right? If they're a kinetic learner and they have to touch it and feel it, then the videos, help them a little bit, but not a lot. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, if someone's learning some advanced functionality, I'm going to want them to be in profile to work on that.
Yeah.
If they're learning how to change rates, if they're learning how to, create new sites, decommission others. I don't want them doing that in the live system. Not quite yet.
So having the full test environment is beneficial?
Very much. And having the ability to, even though if you make changes in the live system, being able to copy that back over to the test system that was like a lifesaver right there.
Yeah, because you're always changing, you're tweaking the live system, and then all of a sudden the live system doesn't have the same functionality as the test system, and then you're trying out something different. So we put
right, and it doesn't even look close. And then that's too hard for people to relate. Because then they're like, well, that's not the same. And it's like, yeah, well, okay. I get that.
Yeah.
So,
that was it.
And for most people, it's, if they're the type of person who's been on a computer, who's navigated through the internet, who's made a reservation on the internet, this isn't that challenging for them to learn.
Yeah.
Because then the next level that I will take people to is teaching them all the little navigation shortcuts.
Yes.
Like using the jumping, how to click on a date and look at the guest list in the future. How to use the left click, that one. So that'll kind of be the next thing. And, a lot of times I'll go wherever at any of the 9 resorts and I'll show people that and they'll be, wow, I didn't even know you could do that. Because there's just so much in here.
And do you have a high turnover of staff? Do you have like seasonal staff as well?
We do at a couple of the resorts. It's quite seasonal.
Yeah.
And so every summer it'll be, essentially a whole different group of people.
Okay. And when it comes to accounts, do you let accounts log in just to look at their reports? Or
our accountant?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Our controller goes in and then he's able to look at the trial balance and, if there's an issue on his end, see what happened and if he can figure it out.
Well, that must be awesome for you. He's not getting a call all the time. He can log in himself and check.
Yeah, it is really great. And he's really good about, okay, like, how did you do that? When I change something or need to change something, taxes always seem to be the biggest issue, right? Because that's the hardest thing to keep up with across 9 properties and 9 municipalities. And changing the tax rate and making sure we're refreshing all the future reservations for the new tax rate.
Yes.
And how does that process work? And, teaching him, we made some rate group changes earlier this year. And so we were trying to, work with everyone to say, you got to make sure to change the rate group, when they check in, here's another way you can check it. And so I taught him how to do that process so that if he has to call them, he knows what he's talking about because he knows how to do it. Yeah.
And he can sit at one desk and look at 9 resorts spread across the U.S.
That's right. It's awesome.
Yeah. He must be happy. He's probably still home checking.
Exactly. Although he has traveled this year, he did travel to all the West Coast resorts in, when was it? Early January, I think. And December before Christmas. And then he will travel to all the East Coast in the beginning of May. So, because he and I are going to do a joint training for all the East Coast management the second week in May.
Wow. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, Kathy, I think we're going over time as usual, but excellent conversation again. Hope the listeners and the viewers have got some tips for making notes and implement some of the tips and tricks that you've mentioned in this particular conversation.
Yeah. Hopefully it is helpful.
Okay, so next week we'll be on to some other topics, but thanks again and speak to you again next week.
Okay, thanks so much, Kevin.
Okay, thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye-bye. I am.